Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be going through the Year 7 entrance Specimen Paper B exam for Dulwich College. Now if you haven't seen our Paper A, where we've gone through the first set of 10 questions, please go ahead and click the link now. Otherwise, feel free to watch this video where we will be going through another range of questions. Now, with the Dulwich College paper, I'll be picking a set of questions which we'll be going through, and these set of questions will range from easy, medium to difficult. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I'll be starting with question 10 today, moving forward towards the end of the paper. So let's get started. The pie chart below represents data collected in a survey of the summer holiday destinations of a sample of school children. Half of the children went to Europe or the USA. Write down the angle of the wedge representing the number of school children who did not go on holiday. And that's the no holiday section. First thing we need to understand is that the pie chart has been split in half. And what this means is that Australia, Africa, and no holiday must equal to 180 degrees. So again, this is where you need to know the properties of your angles. We already have Australia with 90 degrees and Africa with 60 degrees. So if we have 180 minus 90 minus 60, we're left with 30 degrees, and that is what our answer will be. So now we know the angle will be 30 degrees for those who did not go on holiday. Part B. Write the fraction of the children who travelled to the USA, giving your answer in the simplest form. Well, we know USA is 45 degrees, and we know that is 45 over 360 degrees. But they now want it in the simplest form. So now we need to find one number that goes into 45 and 360, and that has to be the highest number possible. So again, this is a test on your multiplications. Now we know that 45 is divisible into 360, and that is 8 times, which means 45 multiplied by 8 gives you 360 degrees. With that being said, we can simply divide both sides by 45, so we're left with 1 over 8. I hope that question was clear. Let's now move into part C. So a total of 180 children were asked to complete the survey. So calculate how many of the children went on holiday to Africa. So again, Africa is 60 degrees. So we now know it's 60 over 360, which is our total. And they've mentioned that there's 180 children that were asked. So we now know that we are looking at fractions of an amount. And that amount will be 180. So what we can do is simplify our numbers here, where we know 360 goes into 180 twice, and 180 goes into 180 once, which means we now can have 60 multiplied by 1, which is 60, and 2 times 1, which is 2. If we have 60 divided by 2, that gives us 30, and that's our answer. So I hope that was clear. Let's now move into part D. Estimate how many children would have visited Europe out of the whole school of 1,600 pupils. So now we're looking at Europe. We now need to calculate Europe here. And the way I'll do that is by simply having 180 minus 45, which gives me 135 degrees. That being said, we now will have 135 over 360. And again, if we simplify this, this will give us 3 over 8. So now we know that we need to get 3 over 8 as a fraction of 1,600. So I'll do the same thing where I'll have 1,600 divided by 1 to make it a fraction. Again, we can simplify this by having 8 move to 1 and 1,600 to move to 200. And then we'll have 3 times 200, which is 600, divided by 1, and 600 is our answer. And there we are. Again, I found that 8 goes into both 8 and 1600. We know 8 goes into 8 once and 8 goes into 16 twice, keeping the 2 zeros, and then we multiply out our fractions. Marvelous work. I hope that was clear. Let's now move into question number 11. On a long, straight country road, there are 4 villages: Josham, Keston, Langham, and Moreton, which are shown in the diagram below. And distances between the villages are shown by the arrows, which means to get from Josham all the way to Keston, it is 12 kilometers. And we now need to work out the distance from Keston to Langham. So in this particular question, we know the distance from Josham to Langham, which is 26, and we know Josham to Keston, which is 12. So in order to get the remaining distance here, we need to do 26 minus 12, which gives us 14. And there we are. That is our answer. And then part I. Langham to Moreton, giving your answers in meters. So now we were working in kilometers before, and now they want us to give us the answer in meters. So that's Langham to Moreton. So again, as we know, Keston to Langham is 14. Let's label that. And we now know that Keston to Moreton is 23. So once again, we need to subtract 14 from 23. 23 minus 14 equals 9. But that is 9 kilometers. We want the answers in meters. And we know that 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So that there would be 9,000 meters. Marvelous. And then for part B. If a tourist cycles at 14 kilometers per hour, work out how long her journey would take from Josham to Moreton in hours and minutes. So Josham to Moreton. So the first thing I'm going to do is calculate the distance from Josham to Moreton. Is have Josham to Keston, which is 12, and Keston to Moreton, which is 23, and add these together. So we'll have 12 plus 23 equals 35. And that's the entire distance from Josham to Moreton. I then need to divide 35 by 14. And that's again my distance divided by my speed. And that will then give me my time, which will be 2.5 hours. So that's 2 hours and 30 minutes. And there we are. Once again, feel free to pause the video at any given time, attempt the question, and then move on. It will take you time to understand. Keep up the progress. Alrighty, moving to question 12. So we've got A, B, and C, which are 3 points on a grid. A is at 5, 2, and they've given us the coordinates for A, B, and C. And they want us to plot and label the other 2 points and then join the 3 points and slightly shade the triangle we've formed. So again, they've given us 5, 2, which is A. We'll then go for 4, 5, which is B. And then we'll go for C, which is 3, 0. And there we are. So all we need to merely do is get up our ruler and link these two together. So now we've gone ahead and done that. We can go ahead and shade the triangle that we've formed. So I can shade it there. And then it asks us to state the name of the type of triangle that has been formed. And we know that that is a scalene triangle. And that is where all of the sides are of a different length. Marvelous. And then it states a mirror line is marked as the dotted line at x equals 3. The triangle can be reflected in this mirror line so that point A ends up at a new point D and point B ends up at a new point E. So we now need to draw the reflected image and then label the 2 parts. So the best way to do this is to see exactly the distance away from the mirror line. So if we take A, we know we have to go 1 square and 2 square, which means our D will be 1 square and 2 square, and we can mark our D. And we do the same exact thing for each and every one. Again, we've got 1 away, so we'll put 1 away, and then the same point here. And once that is done, we can simply go ahead and join this up right away. I'll do this in a blue color, And let's go ahead and join our sides together. And there we are. Magnificent. So that being said, we now need to label our sides, which are going to form E, D. We'll also label this as well, and then C. Marvelous. Again, we can remove the red lines as well if we need to. And there we are. Marvelous. So that being said, let's move over to part D, where it states, write down the coordinates of these new points D and E. So again, for D, we know it's going to be 1, 2, and for E, it's going to be 2, 5. So how did I do that? Well, the x-axis always comes first. So again, I'll take green here, and we'll have 1, 2, and then 2, 5. And that's exactly how we calculate the coordinates. You've done great work by coming this far. Let's now move over to the final part. And this there states to write down which new point completes this triangle in the diagram and explain briefly what it means. So firstly, we know it's going to form an isosceles, but which one will? So if we take a look at this, we know it's going to be point A, where you can have a triangle here, just a rough sketch in between the two scalene triangles, and that's your isosceles. So point E will form an isosceles because an isosceles has two sides of equal length. And there we are. So I hope that was clear. And that again would give you 10 marks. So this is quite a significant question within the paper. So let's keep up the great work and let's move over to question 13. So a prime number has exactly two factors, itself and 1. And the numbers from 1 to 20 inclusive are written on 20 cards. So write down the proportion of all the cards that have a prime number written on them, giving your answer as a decimal. So the first thing we need to do here is write down all our prime numbers from 1 to 20. So the first thing will be 2, and remember 2 is the only even number that is a prime number, which means no other even number can be a prime number. We then have 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, and 19. That's your first mark there. We now need to find the proportion, and remember, proportion is always given as a fraction. So we know there are 8 numbers here, so we'll have 8 over 20, which can be simplified to 4 over 10, or even 2 over 5. And now they want us to give the answer as a decimal, which can be 0.4, and we are good to go. Marvelous work. Let's go for question 14. So the table and bar chart below show the number of cars sold by a car showroom each day for a week. Use the information in the table and the bar chart to complete the entry for Wednesday in the table and the bar for Friday in the chart. So instantly for Wednesday, we can see that there are 2, so we can fill that in. And then for Friday, we see there are 4, which means I will simply shade 4 in. And that there is our question done. And now for part B, it states the total number of cars sold in the week was 28. So we now need to use this information to help us complete the table and bar chart for Sunday's entry. So again, we'll add up all these numbers here and then subtract it from 28. So let's do that. 3 and 5 is 8, and 2 is 10, and then 11, plus 4 is 15, and 7 is 22. So we'll have 28 minus 22, which gives us 6. So we now know that Sunday is going to have 6, and we are good to go. So I hope that was clear, and that was a total of 8 marks. Righty, moving over to question 15. The diagram shows a plan of a rectangular garden of local celebrity Louis Carroll, with an L-shaped fish pond in the middle. They've given us the dimensions and they've told us to work out the area of the fish pond. And this is now called compound shapes. And we have a video on this in our channel. So if you haven't seen that, click the link now for compound shapes and go through that topic. So the first thing we're going to do is split this up. And the way I'm going to do that is by simply going ahead and drawing a line in the middle. And now I've done that, I can calculate the first area, which is 4 times 5, which gives me 20. And because the bottom entire is 6 and we have a top of 4, that means this length here is going to be 2 meters. So again, 2 times 2 will give us 4. So that being said, we can add it together and we've got 24 meters squared as our answer. So again, break shapes into smaller, more manageable steps, and that will make it easier to solve the answer, to solve the question. Okay, and now we need to work out the area of the lawn. So again, all we need to simply do is go ahead and calculate the entire lawn and then subtract the area of the pond, and we are good to go. So we'll have 12 times 8, which is 96. We'll then have 96 minus 24, which gives us 72, and that's our answer. So again, feel free to pause the video, attempt this question. Don't forget to break down the question into smaller, more simpler parts to solve the question. With that being said, let's now move over to part C. So Louis wants to put a stone path around the edge of the garden, just inside the existing perimeter fence. Each paving slab is a square with sides 1 meter. So work out how many paving slabs are needed to complete his path. Well, the first thing we're going to do is calculate the perimeter, which is 12, 12, 8, and 8. So again, 12 times 2 is 24, and 8 times 2 is 16. If we add that together, that's 40, and that's the perimeter. Now we've gone ahead and done that. The one thing to mention here is that for every slab that you put in place here, you'll be losing a slab on the left-hand side here. So again, you'll have 11 slabs coming through here, you'll miss 1. You'll have 7 coming through here, so you'll miss 1. And then again, you'll have 6 coming through here. So all in all, you could see that you're losing 1, 2, 3, and 4 slabs, which means we'll have 40 minus 4, which gives us 36. And that there is our answer. I hope that was clear. Let's now dive into our final question, which is part D. Louis hires a builder to lay the path, and the builder charges £8 per hour basic labour for the job, and then £1.50 per slab he lays. So now if he takes 3.5 hours to finish the job, work out his overall fee. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply £8 by 3.5, which then gives us 28, and that's the hours worked. We'll then multiply 1.5 by 36 slabs, and that there will give us 54. And if we add that together, that gives us £82, and that's how much it will cost. And that's how much it will cost to lay the path. Okay, moving over to the final section here now. Louis then decides to plant a row of bushes around the inside of the stone path, and each bush is to be planted 25 centimeters from the edge of the path and 50 centimeters from its neighboring bushes. And we've got a diagram here that displays how this might look. So now we need to go ahead and calculate how many bushes are required to complete this in total. Okay, so in order to calculate the number of bushes required, the first thing we need to do is understand that we've got 100 centimeters as one specific slab. And as per the previous question here, because we had 4 duplicates in the corners, the 12 meter now becomes 10 meters. And the 8 meter now becomes 6 meters, which means we now have a 10 by 6 shape left. And as each bush is having a 50 centimeters gap from its neighboring bushes, we're halving this value, which means we'll now take 10 multiplied by 2 and 2, as we're taking half of that value, which gives us 40, and 6 multiplied by 2 and 2, which then gives us 24. Once we've gone ahead and added these new dimensions, we get 64. But again, we have to make sure that we remove our duplicates. And by removing the duplicates, we'll get 64 minus 4, which gives us 60. And that there is our answer. I hope that was clear. You've done amazing work by coming this far. Please remember this was just a quick insight into the Dulwich Paper B for the Year 7 exam entrance. If you would like the full answers and the full step-by-step for each question, please don't forget to contact us right away, or we can support you better. With that in mind, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.